Good morning. It's about 10 o'clock and we're going to get started with our post-award management webinar. I am Cheryl Hall, Director of Sponsored Research at Southeastern Louisiana University. With me this morning is Chevonne Neal, Director of Southeastern's Veteran Upward Bound Program. Chevonne's program is one of Southeastern's 10 TRIO programs, which are led by Executive Director, Dr. Dwayne Donald, and the other directors of the 9 other programs, Ron Abel, Andrea Dangerfield, Elmer Stewart, Trinice Abear, and Chevonne, who is with me today. She will co-present this morning and share her insight on project management from a project director's perspective. And I will speak on how we will, in the Sponsored Research Office, assist with the post-award management / administration of externally funded awards. If you have any questions, please place your questions in the Q&A. So let's get started. This is an abbreviated post-award management primer for university research and grants personnel. Chevonne, won't you say hello and welcome to our attendees?
Good morning. Good morning again. I unmuted myself. I'm very happy to be here and looking forward to participating in this webinar with you. So again, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A and look forward to this next hour together.
Thank you, Chevonne. All righty. Our first thing that we do with post-award management, the role of the Research and Grants Office, which is my office, is that we accept the award on behalf of the university. We technically serve as the go-between for the funding agency and the project director, like Chevonne. We ensure that all projects are performed in accordance with the funder's governing regulations and guidelines. Now, grants accounting plays a big role in the management of our externally funded awards. Basically, the 4 primary things that they assist the project director and my office with is the budget number assignment once we receive a funded award, fiscal monitoring of the award, fiscal reporting, and fiscal closeout. Chevonne, when the award is received, I know you guys work closely with grants accounting. What is the first thing that you guys do when the award is received, when you're notified by grants accounting?
We go through the process of certifying the grant award notification, and our next steps are to get our budget set up for the grant year. And so that's done electronically. So our budget office will go ahead and email me. I will print out the document, sign it, email it back. And then I believe the Office of Sponsored Research, your office gets the original document.
That's good. That is correct. So we work in tandem, the 3 offices with the project director's office, the grants accounting office, and the sponsored programs office to ensure that the project is set up timely and everything is in proper order. Now, another thing that we do, we conduct a post-award orientation session. Now, for seasoned professionals like Chevonne has been over the Veterans Upward Bound program going on 18 years now. So Chevonne is pretty much in step with what needs to happen with her project. Her project runs on 5-year cycles. So every 5-year cycle, we do a post-award orientation session with Chevonne as the project director. Some of the things that we look at in general are the award document itself, the terms and conditions of that document, the approved budget, the monitoring of that budget, revisions, reporting requirements, audit and audit certification, closeout, and record retention at the end of the project. Chevonne, you have anything you'd like to add?
Yes, I'd like to add that I'm very happy that we have such the Office of Sponsored Research that goes over these documents and these steps with us. Some universities, college and universities don't have for example, like an Office of Sponsored Research, they are standalone. And so in working with these documents, starting out, they were a little foreign to me, but having the support, having the resource, having the experience of this office, the personnel, Dr. Hall and her staff, makes it so much easier to transition and deal with these documents from the orientation point of view.
Thanks, Chevonne. Now, the award document. The award document comes to the university, and the award is made on behalf of the professor to, or the staff person, or the project administrator to the university. So with Chevonne's Veterans Upward Bound program, it's funded by the U.S. Department of Education. Her award document is called a GAN, Grant Award Notification. Some agencies call there's different things. It could be a notice of award or any type of title given by a specific agency. It could be a funding award, a FA. So with Chevonne's, the first thing we look at, and we verify these things when we receive the award document to make sure they're correct. As for the Veterans Upward Bound program, the first thing we look at to make sure the recipient's name is correct. And the recipient's name should be the institution. And for us, that's Southeastern Louisiana University. The second thing we look at is the award information. This is very important when setting up the award on the administrative and fiscal side. It provides the award number for that particular award. Another thing it provides, it tells you what the action is for the U.S. Department of Education. They have their documents classified by action numbers. The initial award is action number 1, and action type is a brand new award. Now, as I said, Chevonne's project operates on 5-year cycle. So it gets a new budget, a new award document continuation each year. So the award number will then have an extension number. So you will know that it's an extension and not the original award. Project staff is covered under that particular award number. It lists Chevonne's name as the project director and who our education program manager contact is at the U.S. Department of Education. And it gives them information on the education payment hotline, which is a general 1-800 number and an email address. The project title. The project title is basically the catalog of federal domestic assistance number that award is made under. Now, for some of our other research awards, it is the true project title. Chevonne's award is Veterans Upward Bound Program, and that's the same title for Veterans Upward Bound programs nationwide. But for a research project that a researcher may have various titles, that is the specific title for that program. Key personnel. Now, for this project, it lists the project director and the percentage or level of effort that the person will work on the project. This project, Chevonne is the project director at 100%. So her level of effort is 100%. If any other key personnel are listed on the project, they would be listed on that award document. The award period, that gives you the start date and end date for that particular project. This project runs in 5-year cycles. So we're in the 2022 to 2027 project cycle. It also shows the budget periods because this project is what we call incrementally funded. So it tells us the budget period, the years that the budget period covers, and the amount that will be allocated for each budget period. And the governing regulations. That tells us what regulations this award will be governed or guided by. And typically, U.S. Department of Education is guided by Edgar and the OMB Super Circular. The OMB Super Circular first and then Edgar for any specific agency specific guidance. Chevonne, you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, you covered the grant award notification very thoroughly.
Thank you. The award terms and conditions. The award terms and conditions are the regulations that govern the overall administration of your project. Individual awards are based on the application submitted and approved by the funding agency. All awards are subject to the terms and conditions incorporated either directly, you may see language that says this is incorporated in full text, or by reference. This is incorporated by reference. Also, other requirements of the award that are binding on the recipient are shown in that particular award document. Now, for the Veterans Upward Bound program, they have some additional conditions of award that have to be met. Chevonne, on your award, I know you have to meet a number of participants each year.
Correct.
So you want to expound on that a little bit?
Yes, we're funded to serve 160 veterans every year. And that's for the 5-year cycle. So it's 160 every year for 5 years.
Okay, so you can see it's not only the general and basic award requirements like your regulations, but also if there's some additional ones, like she has a number, a cohort that she has to fund and meet that particular number each year.
I do want to also mention with that, we have 4 objectives that we have to meet to continue receiving the grant, the continuation grant. And so that's part of us having the grant, having the recruitment goal of 160 participants, as well as meeting the 4 objectives, including them having an overview and assessment of their skill set, continuing in the program, completion of the program, entering into college, and a tracking of those participants in 6 years to see if they actually graduate.
So pay attention to your award document to make sure you have or you don't have other reporting requirements or award terms and conditions that have to be met that are binding on you as the recipient of your institution as the recipient of the award. As a part of the orientation, we go over the approved budget, the monitoring of the project, and any revisions to the project scope of work or the budget. The approved budget summarizes the financial aspect of your project or program that you're conducting. We review the agency approved budget to monitor the day-to-day fiscal operations of the award. The fiscal operations of the award are monitored by our grants accounting office, along with the project director. They work hand in hand with our grants accounting office to ensure that we are being good stewards of the federal government's funds. Now, some agencies or all agencies allow flexibility to rebudget, but they expect expenditures to be consistent with the approved project and the approved budget. One thing to note, with that flexibility to rebudget, sometimes you have to seek prior approval. Now, prior approval is sometimes asked if you're changing the PI, if the PI is reducing their time, if you're doing a change to your scope of work, or if you're adding a line item. But for the most part, there is flexibility to rebudget within certain line items of your budget. Certain agencies may not allow you to rebudget funds from participant support costs. And so you may have to get prior approval if you're rebudgeting participant support costs, a line item. Chevonne?
Yes, that's correct. So in our budget, one of the items that we can't rebudget, if you will, is our stipends for our participants. I can add money into that category for veterans who participate on a regular basis, but I can't take money out or rebudget it to another expense code. So in general, the budget will consist of personnel, benefits, fringe benefits, travel. We have institutional fees, different operating supplies, subscription, so when I say operating supplies, that includes postage and printing and phone usage, computer maintenance and those subscriptions, etc. And so making sure that all of that is covered in your overall budget. But in regards to that one line item, rebudgeting, I have to stick within the frame of those funds that I have in that category.
Now, I know sometimes some agencies, if you want to purchase computers or additional pieces of technology, you may have to go back to them for approval because it's not in your original budget or scope. How is that with Department of Education in your BUB program? If you want to purchase additional computers or things of that nature that may not be in that original budget, but you do have a line item for acquisitions.
Yes, generally, we have to have that in our budget set up for each grant year. So if we want to look at purchasing computers in that grant year, we need to have that as part of our setup. And that program specialist approves it, and the Office of Sponsored Research then has that information and that approval process so that everything goes accordingly.
So although the regs may say you have some flexibility, certain agencies have different specific requirements. So pay attention to those rebudgeting guidelines for your specific project, depending on the agency that funds that project. Now we move to our reporting requirements. Our reporting requirements basically gives the funder a picture of where we are at a certain point in time. You submit your performance, you can call them performance, progress, or technical reports. It depends on the agency. They all have different names, but it's the same thing. It's the report of the administrative work on the project other than your fiscal reporting. And they're due at specific times during the life cycle of an award. Some have quarterly reporting requirements, semi-annual reporting requirements, or annual. With the BUB program, I think they have annual reporting requirements for their project. I know at one time they used to be due around December, but the Department of Education with the TRIO programs are kind of going through some little changes now. So Chevonne, when are your reports due at this current time? Are we still looking at the annual, or shed more light on that?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, the Department of Education has had some transition with their database, so that's kind of delayed our reports. But generally, our reports for the Veterans Upper Bound programs is usually the end of November and or December timeframe. With the delay, it could be 2 to 3 months after that. And we usually just have an annual performance report. Because of their transition in this last year, all of our programs were required to submit an interim performance report where they wanted to see where we were with our goals, our recruitment efforts, substantial progress in the current year. So that was new for many years. In the 18 years that I've been here, that was the first time that we had to do an interim performance report. But in general, it's been just an annual.
Okay. And all reports must be accurate, complete, and most important, submitted on time. The report should capture the accomplishments towards the project's goals that were listed in your award, any publications or manuscripts. If you've encountered any delays or challenges during the project period or that reporting period, if it's an annual period, semi-annual, any challenges or delays that you experience. We really experienced that and had a lot to report during COVID. So things of that nature. And also, if you had anything that was new and that they may need to know about, that was earth-shattering with your project. Reporting intervals, as we said, general rule is no less frequent than annual or no more frequently than quarterly, unless it's an unusual circumstance. An unusual circumstance may be a project who has experienced several delays for certain reasons, or they feel the project is not progressing along with the goals and objectives as stated in the award document. So what the program manager at the agency may do, if you're on an annual reporting cycle, they may say, well, look, I'm going to check in with you on every 6 months to see where you are and to provide you with some assistance in meeting your goals and objectives of that particular project. And reports submitted annually are due no later than 90 calendar days after the reporting period. And these are general report submission deadlines and requirements. Pay attention to your award document for any agency-specific reporting deadlines. Chevonne?
That's right on.
Reports that are submitted quarterly or semi-annually are due no later than 30 calendar days after the reporting period. Now, for multiple year awards, such as the Veterans Upward Bound program that Chevonne is the director of, annual reports may be required before the anniversary date of that multiple year federal awards next funding cycle for that particular year. And basically the reason for that is they're looking to see the progress of that project and to see if the new budget year's funds, all of them, need to be sent to the institution, because they may have some prior year's funds that they're not spending, are not on the right trajectory, that they may say, hey, we're not going to send the whole amount. We're going to send a third, a half, or however, so we can get this program on track. And if you have a final report due, a performance report, then it should be due no later than 120 days after the award expires. Anything else?
No, that's good.
Now, other reporting requirements other than your performance reports. A big report is our fiscal reports. And as I said, those are handled by our grants accounting office. Along with the project director, they work together to prepare these reports. Chevonne, you want to speak to the fiscal reports that are prepared for your program?
That includes the record retention.
The fiscal reports for your I think with your program, mostly our grants accounting office does drawdowns. Those serve as the fiscal reports, but it's the job of Chevonne's office to make sure that they have all their expenditures in timely. And if there's any invoicing that needs to be done or funds that are encumbered, then they need to make sure those encumbrances are liquidated so those reports will be timely submitted.
Yeah, so to follow that frame of message. We have times that we make purchases throughout the year, whether it be through our procurement offices, purchase requisition, purchase orders. They all have to be receipted. They have to go through our workday on campus, and so our purchase office gets them. The dean goes ahead and reviews them, approves them, and then they're sent through that workflow where then they end up in our grants office and they review all expenditures. So that's done on a monthly basis, and drawdowns for the grant happens once a month.
Okay. Another big is our time and effort reports. On the grant award notification under key personnel, Chevonne is listed as 100% level of effort. So that lets us know that we need to collect a time and effort certification report from Chevonne. Now, on that same note, Chevonne has a staff. So those staff, although they're not listed as key personnel, they are personnel paid from this externally funded project. So we capture and collect time and effort reports and time and effort certification from those particular staff persons on Chevonne's project. Now, property inventory reports. So every year the university does a property inventory review, and we submit reports, whether it's a externally funded project or an operating account project. We submit a report, a property inventory report. Chevonne's report or reports for the externally funded projects roll up to that Department of Education report that would need to be submitted on an annual or closeout basis. Invention patent reports, those are not applicable to our VUB program, but we do have several programs from NIH, NASA, NSF that require us to submit an invention patent report. And even if we do not have anything, we submit what we call a negative report. Audit requirements. Audits are performed every year. Recipients or subrecipients that expend $750,000 or more in federal awards during a fiscal year are subject to an audit requirement. An audit shall be completed and submitted as dictated by the award document. Now, we have a legislative auditor's office housed here on campus. The legislative auditors, because we're a part of the UL system, University of Louisiana system, performs our audit. That particular audit report is then placed on sponsored programs website, it's placed on the controller's website, and it's sent to the clearinghouse where agencies can get a copy of that report if needed. Chevonne, you have anything you want to add to that? I think we do that for you guys.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Now,
That happens here.
Now, one thing I did experience this year, and it was with one of our TRIO programs, was that they wanted us to send them a copy of the report because they said they didn't have it. That was my first time in my 14 years here ever being asked by a particular program manager at the U.S. Department of Education to send them a copy of the report, because the report is always linked and placed where they can receive it. So maybe that's a part of the change that they're going through with their new system, that it didn't allow them to receive that particular report for that particular audit report for that particular project.
Now, from a program standpoint as well, and not speaking specifically to audits, but our program has experienced a site visit, which is really designed to provide some guidance in regards to how your program is running. And so you'll have 2 program specialists or program officers that will come and spend a couple days with you and go over the nature of your grant, your mission, see if you're meeting your goals, how creative you are with your meeting participants and services. And in well, going on in 18 years here, but at that time it was about 14. I hadn't experienced a site visit, and I've been in higher education going on 35 years, and with TRIO in San Diego. And so it doesn't happen often, but it's something also to be aware of, that it's possible that at some point, depending on who your funding agency is, they may want to come visit and have kind of just see how things are going. Look at the location that you're in, make sure that everything is in place and accounted for. They want to maybe visit other offices on campus, your budget office, purchasing department. And so it's kind of a check and balances there too. And that's what makes, having the Office of Sponsored Research, the grants office, all of that working together, a benefit to the program, because you will definitely have the support where everybody is aware of how the program is running and what funds are looking like and who's working in the program. So all of that comes together, and having a procedures book of how your daily activities or daily operations take place. It's always important to have that always available to anyone who would want to come to the office, but certainly if you have a site visit, having that prepared and ready.
Thanks, Chevonne. Now, you've done all this beautiful work, and you've worked a year, and for some, Chevonne, 5 years on a cycle, and we come to closeout. Closeout is not to be taken lightly. And this is the process after the project period ends, if the project is not extended or continued funding is not provided. After closeout, please know that awardees remain obligated to return funds as a result of a late refund after the project is closed out. I experienced that with one of our other projects. We purchased something on the project, and then we received a rebate or a refund. So our grants accounting office had to receipt those funds to that particular vendor. And also, if there are corrections, and the awarding agency may recover amounts related to any type of audit finding. Now, with the closeout procedure that we employ here at Southeastern, with basically all of our projects, we employ this general procedure. And during the closeout phase or prior to it, getting ready for it, we send out 120, 90, 60, and 30-day letters, letting the PI know or informing them of, hey, these are the reports that are due. And we start 120 days out. These are the closeout reports due. You might have a performance report due, your final expenditure report, property inventory report, final invention patent statement, or other reports required by the funder to close out the project. Now, in the case of the Veterans Upward Bound program, as we mentioned before, Chevonne has to meet a specific number of participants. So she is going to have to do a summary report that speaks to that cohort and whether or not she met that number. And I think that's some similar or in tandem with your ARP report.
Yeah,
I think that's in APR report. So you want to speak a little bit about that?
So yes, the annual performance report, when that's due, that's when we definitely have to report on every participant that we have in the program, their eligibility, services that they've received, and the 4 objectives that we have to make certain that's met. And for our TRIO programs and Veterans Upward Bound programs, we have 65 in the nation. They're all the same, have standard objectives. The first one has to do with our participants being assessed for their skill set. The second one has to deal with their continuation in the program, or completing the program. The third objective deals with them entering any post-secondary educational program, and the fourth objective deals with them tracking them for 6 years to see if they have graduated from that post-secondary educational program. Each of those objectives have percentages to them. So of course, 100% of the 160 isn't true for each of those 4 objectives. So we report on those goals, and then we get at the end of that report determine whether or not we've met our prior experience for the performance of our participants in the program.
Thank you. Now, record retention. So you've closed out your project. Everything is good. You've closed out the performance piece. You've closed out the fiscal piece. Now we need to maintain the government's records or the state's records. Whatever the project, whoever the funder is, you have to maintain their records. First of all, follow your institutional record retention policy. Okay. Federal projects, the records are to be kept at least 3 years after final financial reporting, and retention times may be longer if it's a contract. Non-federal is usually 3, but it may be longer. I've seen sometimes where it's 5 with state awards. Departmental records should be maintained for a similar period as you maintain the federal externally funded project records. And some records you may want to retain longer than others, and that may be dictated by agency specific guidance. Now, just some reminders. Be certain when you receive your award, be certain it is as expected and as agreed. Review your award documents. Typos can be made, and everybody is working, doing 3 and 4 jobs, even at federal and state level. So review your award document and make sure it's as expected and as agreed. Something as simple as the start date. When you submitted the proposal, you might have said you wanted a June 1 start date. You get the award, it has a July 1 start date. Well, you got notice in May, so you started working in June, but you didn't know when the start date was. So then that moves us into a different area where we may have to say you can get pre-award costs if that's allowable by that agency. Next, be aware of all administrative requirements. And I think we reviewed most of those as far as the reporting requirements on the administrative side and any other requirements that may be made for that particular project. And especially if you're purchasing equipment. If you're purchasing equipment, we encourage our project directors, principal investigators to immediately purchase their equipment or commence purchasing their equipment when they receive that particular award. Make sure you're aware of all applicable regulations. What regs govern your project? It's super circular, agency specific regs, and things of that nature. Make sure you are aware. Make sure you're aware of all your reporting requirements. They should be accurate, complete, and most importantly, timely submitted. And this is for the Grants Accounting Office, and they know to do this, to establish separate project accounts, because you don't want to be caught up commingling funds, mixing of project A with project B. And I think Chevonne brought out a good point. She mentioned that some of the VUB projects do not have a sponsored programs office or a grants accounting office. They're independently run outside of an institution. So they need to be aware of the rules and regulations, fiscal and administrative, that are required to run these projects so they can be true stewards of the federal, state, or local government's funds. Chevonne, you have anything you want to add?
I think one of the things I'd like to add is to make sure, it's really just briefly, but make sure you know what your award expects. Make sure you have your budget in place. Be certain that you follow regulations, that you're held accountable for them. As you mentioned, we have an office of sponsored research. Many of our colleges do in the UL system, but some actually do not. And so there are some foreign things sometimes that come up where that document comes across your desk or part of a project email, and you're not really certain what to do with it. That's what makes the office of sponsored research very important. So definitely have a good ongoing relationship with them. And make sure you know what your grant requires. Read your grant, make sure your staff is aware of your grant, your budget, allowable costs, unallowable costs. One of the things I didn't go into detail about, and maybe we will after Q&A, just kind of depends, is record retention. I have like a slide that I wanted to share in regards to keeping those kind of documents. And so there's so much documentation, so much expectation to running grants, and then also for the universities such as Southeastern and our colleges in the UL system to be responsible for. But I'm very happy to have it. So it's a great responsibility to have, but it's very important and very legal. Very legal situation. Responsibility to also assume.
Thank you, Chevonne. And one thing she touched upon, and we talked about this while we were getting this PowerPoint presentation together. Chevonne's project with her record retention, typically, like I said, it's 3 years, some 5. Well, with Chevonne's project, I think she mentioned to me, she has to retain her records for 2 cycles. And remember, she's in 5-year cycles, plus 1 reporting period, which is, they call their APR period. So she has to retain her documents for 11 years. So like I said, it's different for different agencies. So what we provided was a high level overview of a general perspective of post-award management. But as she said, pay attention to your award document for agency specific requirements in managing your award.
I have one question.
Okay. Okay. We have one question, Chevonne?
Yes, there is a participant that wants to know if the presentation, this PowerPoint presentation will be emailed to the participant. Couple came in a little late.
Okay. I'll get with the UL system office, and however they handle that, that's how we will take care of it. Thank you.
This is a good time to ask any other questions. I know we don't have any, at this time in Q&A, or if you can have some comments or just want to share, what the experience has been with, managing your grant, and then, your post experience.
Yes, please share with us your experience in working with your particular project. Like I said, it's different for everybody, depending on who your funder is, and what stage you are with your particular project. But you want to put it in the chat and Chevonne will read it, or just let us know.
We do have one comment in the chat. Ned Baldwin, your host of the panel. Thank you, Cheryl. I love your dress.
Oh, thank you, Annette. Thank you for your participation. And thank everyone for their participation. This is a labor of love for me, and I know for Chevonne. We do this because this is what we like to do. We like to give back to our faculty and our staff and make sure that these projects run 100% as they want them to run and how they envision them to run. We are here with open doors to assist. And all of us seasoned, novice, we can all learn from each other and share our skill set in making all of these programs better for the students, faculty, and staff of the UL system as a whole.
Absolutely.
If we don't have any more questions or comments, again, I want to thank everyone for their participation. I want to thank my co-presenter, Chevonne Neal, for presenting this morning and sharing her knowledge of the VUB program. And I want to add one thing. The VUB program is very important because Southeastern is designated as a military-friendly campus. Yes. So thanks to Chevonne and her work over the past 17, going on 18 years with the Veteran Upward Bound program. And I want to thank Dr. Dwayne Donald for his work with all of our 10 TRIO programs who bring in a wealth of money and students, middle school up to first year college experience for low income underrepresented students. So thank Dr. Donald and his entire team, as I said before, for their work with the TRIO programs. And that ends our presentation this morning. Thank you.